But can I just say one thing, which is I think we're missing the bigger picture here, which is after President Trump fired James Comey, I said that we are all going through a slow motion, multi-month Saturday Night Massacre, where when President Nixon fired, was it Leon Jaworski, the special counsel looking into Watergate, and there was a whole bloodbath that went through with the Attorney General Elliot Richardson resigning, and then the Deputy Attorney General resigning, et cetera. And ultimately Robert Bork, I believe, was the one who fired Jaworski. That was called the Saturday Night Massacre for people who don't remember, and it was the president trying to, President Nixon at the time, get away from any sort of accountability from the Justice Department. President Trump has been doing that in slow motion. I'm not saying he's responsible for anything like what happened under Watergate. We have no idea what happened and what Mueller will turn up, and maybe he'll turn up nothing. But it has been a slow motion Saturday Night Massacre, starting with the firing of James Comey and now with the firing of the Attorney General.
Everybody, hold on.
The difference is...
hold on one moment. Laura Jarrett, our Justice Department reporter, is getting some more information. What else are you learning, Laura?
Hey there, Wolf. I just wanted to update you as we're learning more and more about how all of this went down this morning. I'm now told by a senior administration official that the president did not even call the attorney general to fire him or ask for his resignation himself. Instead, the chief of staff, John Kelly, did it. And that's the person that Sessions had his hand-delivered resignation letter delivered to just a short time ago. But it gives you just sort of a picture of, even at the end of the day, the president did not even call this attorney general to deliver this news. After all of the tweets, after all of the berating, he did not even do him that courtesy. Now, we're also told that Matthew Whitaker, Sessions' chief of staff, is expected to take over the Mueller probe. But again, this is all very fast moving. And as everyone has mentioned already, Whitaker has a checkered past when it comes to the Mueller investigation. He has not been quiet about times where he thinks that Mueller has overstepped, particularly in relation to the president's finances. And I'm also told there's no word yet on whether Mueller actually got a heads up on whether Whitaker could potentially be his boss. So we wait to find out more information about how all of that will shake out and whether Mueller said anything to that news. As of right now, Sessions and the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, are still here in the building, Wolf.
Very interesting. And
didn't even have the courtesy to call him up and say, you know what, it's over.
It's a grand irony of the Trump presidency that somebody who is best known for the catchphrase, "you're fired," actually in real life never has the stomach to actually say it to anybody, whether it is James Comey or Omarosa or now Attorney General Jeff Sessions.
Can I ask a question? Maybe, Dana, you know the answer to this, which is, could Democrats try and do something with like-minded Republicans in a lame duck session over this?
You mean to try to get the legislation to protect Mueller?
Yeah, I mean, is there anything that could be done?
Maybe
if they're feeling
theoretically,
maybe
sure.
theoretically, yeah. But remember, there could be.
So Paul Ryan on the way out the door in the middle of this, Jim Jordan, Steve Scalise, Kevin McCarthy battle to succeed, and House Republicans are going to.
He's done. But I think, but the bigger question is the Senate, because that's where this started, and Mitch McConnell has been resistant.
Exactly. I just think that. The question of whether this has been a slow motion Saturday Night Massacre, again, I'm trying to think this through. What made the Saturday Night Massacre so surprising is that it was a massacre all at once.
Right.
The president could have shut this investigation down. He could have fired Rosenstein and had a basis to do it based on the reporting that came out of the New York Times. There's a reason why he didn't do it or get rid of Sessions before now. Presumably, one of those reasons would be that he was worried about doing it before the midterms.
Right.
So you have to believe he at least holds on to the idea that there is some risk that if he were to actually completely shut down the investigation, I think there's other things he could do, that it would be a tremendous risk and could actually lead to his defeat in 2020. Again, it's a theory. I may be naive. You may be right. I'm wondering whether there is a level of caution in him on this that he has actually exercised despite what he's done.
I think the guardrails, I'm sorry, I'll get to you in 1 second. The guardrails that have been there include Speaker Ryan, soon to be former Speaker Ryan, telling him not to do it. Mitch McConnell.
Don McGahn,
who is gone. Jeff Sessions, obviously advocating for his own job. John Kelly, he is surrounded by people telling him not to do it. And he's listened to them so far, but he has been getting rid of these guardrails one after the other.
Can I make one part before you say that, just because you would appreciate this? But the thing about Sessions, too, that's amazing, I mean, first supporter in the Senate, such a hardline guy. What he understood that I think the president often forgets about the presidency is that his job as Attorney General was bigger than him. Right, and it's bigger than the country. And he, whether you like Sessions or not, he held up to that principle, and then he gets treated this way.
Well, Jeff Sessions.
Hold on for a moment.
Laura, make her point.
Jeff Sessions was politically emasculated from the very beginning, and I think obviously it was a protracted Saturday Night Massacre. But I will not give the president credit to think that perhaps he is just not now throwing caution to the wind. He knows the midterms are over and the consequences him politically are gone. But there is still hope because Mueller anticipated this. Of course he did, knowing that there was a chance that Rosenstein would not be his boss. So what do you got, Mueller? Time is up for you to take a protracted approach to this at this point.
And a lot of us are wondering what Rosenstein himself might do now after he's been humiliated for all practical purposes. Evan Perez, you're getting some new information?
Well, that's right. Well, one of the big questions, obviously, given the fact that Matt Whitaker is, or at least is expected to take over the investigation, the oversight of the Mueller investigation, the big question is whether the Justice Department Ethics Department, whether the ethics people at the Justice Department tell him that because of some of the writings, I think Laura Jarrett made some mention of some of the things he had previously written here at CNN, whether that requires him to recuse himself, and then the president has the same recusal problem all over again. So one of the things I think in the next couple of days we're going to be watching for is whether the ethics officials at the Justice Department tell Matt Whitaker that because of his previous comments, including, by the way, in last year on Don Lemon's show, he made comments about how an acting attorney general could come in and essentially reduce the budget for the Mueller investigation as a way to starve it of the resources and in that way make it shut down. So those are the comments that Matt Whitaker has made previously. He made them here on CNN, and those questions, those comments are now going to come into play for the ethics officers at the Justice Department as they review whether he can indeed oversee the Mueller investigation.
Let me just read one sentence from that article that he wrote, Matt Whitaker, for CNN, CNN.com. Mueller's investigation of Trump is going too far, and it's very significant because he's now going to be in charge of overseeing the Mueller investigation. Quote, "It is time for Rosenstein, who is the acting attorney general for the purposes of this investigation, to order Mueller to limit the scope of his investigation to the four corners of the order appointing him special counsel."
But Evan Perez, let me just ask you, when Jeff Sessions sought advice from the ethics attorneys at the Department of Justice, and they told him he needed to recuse himself, that wasn't because of his opinion about the Russia investigation. It was because he had talked and met with Russian officials while he was a surrogate for the Trump campaign.
Right.
That's not legally binding, though, right? That's advice from ethics lawyers. He doesn't have to take it.
Right. Well, the way the rules of the Justice Department are, Jake, is that by and large people accept that opinion because if you don't accept it, then any decisions you make could be challenged. It becomes a legal problem for the department. So that's the reason why when you seek that ethics opinion, you respect it, and that's why Jeff Sessions himself has said he had no choice but to accept that because anything that he did in oversight of the investigation would then be questionable because of that. So once you have the ethics opinion from the Justice Department, by and large, I mean, you generally have to accept it simply because, again, it calls into question anything that you touch that has to do with the investigation. And so that's the reason why I think it's going to be very interesting to see whether or not the writings and the comments that Whitaker has made in the past, whether those are enough for the ethics officers there at the Justice Department to say that he needs to recuse. Keep in mind, it's not just his role here or his comments, it's any appearance of bias that might come into play. So people at the Justice Department are required to avoid any appearance of bias. So that's the big question that I think is going to be decided by the ethics officers.
The former Attorney General Eric Holder during the Obama administration just tweeted this, and I'll read it. Anyone who attempts to interfere with or obstruct the Mueller inquiry must be held accountable. This is a red line. We are a nation of laws and norms, not subject to the self-interested actions of one man. Very strong statement, Laura, from the former Attorney General.